Welcome. I'm Bart Loeser, the Austin Club Retention Chair for 2019-2020, and I also help coordinate the continuing education programs on our Toastmasters District 55 website, where you can access these programs for learning more about the skills it takes to become an excellent communicator as well as a leader in, well, anywhere in Toastmasters. And so this particular program is part of the Successful Club series, and this is the second half of our Moments of Truth program, where I'm going to teach you and encourage you to take these programs to your clubs to help teach people about what it takes to establish successful and strong clubs. So what we'll look at in this particular program is why it's important. And the main reason why we want to do these and look at these moments of truths is because we've established a specific mission for Toastmasters that we want to be able to create for our members when they come to our clubs. And so the Toastmasters mission essentially says, here is what we're going to achieve for you, what we're promising you. We provide a supportive and positive learning experience in which members are empowered to develop communication and leadership skills, resulting in greater self-confidence and personal growth. Now, what does this mean? Well, if you look at the most important pieces of this club mission, it means that when you come to a meeting and when you're involved in Toastmasters, you will encounter people and situations that will be supportive of you and a positive experience. They want to empower you. So in other words, they're not going to do this for you. They want to encourage you to do it yourself in your own way so that you develop communication and leadership skills that will result in greater self-confidence, which everyone can utilize, as well as personal growth, which is the primary reason why people join. But we want to make sure our clubs are actually doing this. And so there are 6 primary areas of moments of truth. The first 3 were I described in depth and detail in part 1, and you can listen to that recording or watch that recording. And it involves first impressions that you have on people, the membership orientation sessions, as well as achievement recognition. The other 3 areas that we'll be addressing in this video are fellowship, variety, and communication, program planning and meeting organization, as well as membership strength, which it's my own personal favorite because if a club doesn't have a good membership strength, almost everything begins to fall apart. So membership strength to me is the most important. Now, some of the questions you want to ask yourself when you're presenting these programs is, how well does your club or any club perform on each of these standards? We're going to focus on the last 3 of the standards of moments of truth, but these are 6 different modules, and today we'll talk about 3 of those modules, and they specifically focus on actions that you can take that are going to improve a club in these particular areas. So we'll start off with fellowship, variety, and communication. In this, just like in most all of the moments of truth, there are 6 factors that we're going to be looking at. The first factor is, are our guests greeted warmly? Do they feel comfortable when they walk into this foreign environment where they may not know anyone, may not know what's going on, and have someone there who can greet them with a smile, with eye contact, with a warmth in their voice, a welcoming, and someone who can orient them to what's going on, where they're going to sit, where they sign in, see if they have any questions, introduce them to some of the other officers, and just to let them know a little bit about what to expect. The second thing is, are we having meetings that are both enjoyable and educational? And like with all communication, who gets to decide if your meetings are enjoyable or educational? That's the person receiving the message. So if you've got guests coming to your meetings and you want to turn them into members, one thing they're going to consider is this fun? Is this worth my time? Am I having a good time here? And am I learning something? I would suggest that a club should never be having a meeting where people are not learning something and practicing those skills. So it should be educational. So always enjoyable and educational. Another thing is, you want to have regularly scheduled social events outside of the meetings, so people have more of a chance to connect, to get to know each other on a more personal basis. This is one area that a lot of clubs, especially corporate clubs, don't necessarily focus on as a priority. And then it can leave members less connected, less feeling like, oh, I need to be going to these meetings to see my friends and to support them. So having regularly scheduled social events gives people a chance outside of our meetings to connect and to develop the relationships that will build a strong club. Another thing is participation in area, district, and international events. Now, I've participated in all, although I've only been to one international contest or conference at this point, but I'm very interested in going to other areas and to other districts because you can learn so much when you experience how they do things. And you can certainly share what you do as well that's working. And you can find solutions in many unique ways when you participate in those. You learn a lot when you get outside of your club and find out what's going on in a bigger way. Another thing we can be doing more of is inter-club events. Get involved with a club, especially if your club is struggling or you're a large club. Join up with a club that's not doing the same as yours and see how you can support them or help them or gain support. And plus, you'll learn a lot more when you go to other clubs and how they do things. So it's a very powerful way to strengthen your club by seeing what do other clubs do that works. Just like when you're going to be doing a social event, a lot of clubs are having things after the meeting, such as if it's an evening club, they will have people who will go out afterwards for a social event or for dinner or something like this. This is really a powerful way to connect, and you can do this with other clubs. And then lastly, probably one of the most important, I think, in terms of your individual club, is to make sure that you've got a club newsletter or some sort of ongoing communication where you can share pictures, where you can share achievements that you've had in your clubs, and just let people know what's going on and make sure that it's updated regularly. You don't want old information on your websites or in your club newsletter. But this is a primary communication area for your clubs that one has to keep on top of. Now, another area in Moments of Truth, an important module, is on program planning and meeting organization. One of the things that's helpful is for people to know what's going on and have a sense of how to follow a meeting. That's why you should always have an agenda that's planned out. So create a program, who's playing what roles, and then publicize this in advance. Even if it's just a draft, it may change at the last minute, but send this out so that everyone can have an electronic copy of the newsletter, or of your agenda, because one of the things you can do is you don't necessarily have to waste paper printing up an agenda that people will never see again. You can have electronic copies that people can have on their computers. And with the new Pathways program, we're moving toward the day when we're pretty much going to be on our phones or on our tablets or on our computer laptops when we're in our meetings. And so you can pull up a lot of this information and have it right there in front of you in electronic form. Another important aspect of program planning is to make sure that the members are prepared to carry out all the program assignments. So if you have people who are fairly new or who aren't quite sure how to play out their assignment, such as a grammarian, if grammarian doesn't exactly know how to do their job, they can find out by either researching it online, asking the Toastmaster to help them with understanding that role better, or finding out from people who've played that role before. And what did they learn from it? What worked? What didn't? These are some great ways to prepare before you ever come to a meeting. So even if you're the timer, you want to know, well, what exactly is my job as a timer? Why do we do timing? What will I say when I introduce my role as timer so that I educate people about what my role is and why it's important? These are all things we should do and prepare for long before we actually show up at the meeting. Make sure that you're prepared to carry out each of the program assignments. Another thing is make sure that all the projects are part of the education program. And from the older program, we had manual projects, we had actual physical manuals, and some people in the Pathways program may have something physical, or they may have printed out something that they can work from, but they need to be specific projects. And inside these projects, they have a lot of steps, from introducing you to the project and then giving you lots of education about the project, as well as helping you to organize what this project is going to do. I might warn you, do not do what a lot of Toastmasters have done in the past, which is create a speech and then figure out what project you're going to apply it to. You learn practically nothing from that. All these projects teach you different skill sets and sometimes build sort of like building blocks to build on what you learned before. So learn from these projects because a lot of people have put a lot of time, energy, and money into creating educational projects that will help you learn. But if you don't actually read the projects and follow the projects, you don't learn as much. So please make sure that any speech you give is going to fit a specific project, and make sure that you had a chance to actually read through it. Another important factor is make sure you have meetings that begin and end on time. This is primarily the job of the meeting organizer, and this could either be the person who is the president of the club, or it could be the Toastmaster of the meeting, but their job is to make sure that if we say a meeting is going to start at a certain time and that you're going to arrive, you should expect to see what was planned. And it should happen the way it was planned. So it should begin on time and it should end on time. And that's the job of the Toastmaster, is to check and make sure, is the meeting flowing in a way where we will keep our promises. Another important aspect of program planning is coming up with table topics or impromptu speaking opportunities that are going to be interesting, that make people think, that might challenge people, but don't challenge them too hard, because we have to come up and be creative. So you don't want to have people necessarily have to figure out, I don't really understand what you're asking me to do here. It should be fairly clear what you're asking of people. And make sure also that these table topics are something where when you're choosing people, you don't choose volunteers. Who wants to take this question that I just asked? Because that's not impromptu. That's extemporaneous, because you have a little bit of time to organize your thoughts because you already know what the topic is. And you think, oh, I think I can answer that question. And you come up there because you're already somewhat prepared. You want to be totally unprepared. And when you're hit with the topic, think, ooh, how would I answer that? So creative table topics and activities. And then lastly, make sure that the evaluations that we do are always positive. Even talking to people about what they can do to improve should be presented in a very positive way of how that's going to help them. And make sure that all evaluations have something in it that you can present to someone on how they can take it up at least a notch or two. You never want to be having someone giving an evaluation thinking, gosh, I can't really think of anything I would suggest you do to improve. It's just perfect. There's no speech that's absolutely perfect. There's always something they could have done to make it a little more impactful or clearer or helpful, or some technique that they either tried that may have worked or didn't work or could have worked a bit better. So we want to think about and learn how to come up with constructive criticism or constructive feedback to help us critically look at how it was presented and give them something they can learn from. So that's one of the challenges, is learning as we are in Toastmasters how to be more helpful when we're giving our evaluations. The last area, which is the area I think is the most important, is keeping membership strength and membership at a strong level. So clubs should always have at least 20 or more members, because there's at least 12 to 14 roles that people can play in meetings. And that's if you have 2 or 3 speeches and 2 or 3 evaluations, which means you have to have a lot of people at these meetings to be able to play those roles. Otherwise, you're doubling up on roles. It plays a lot of stress. And so you want to have enough members who can play these roles and switch out as well. Plus, you also want some extra people who might not have roles, because those should be your people that you can choose to take on table topics because they don't have another role. So, but clubs should have 20 or more members. So our goal is to constantly build up to that. And Toastmasters will tell you that there's an attrition rate of about, 40% each year. So that means 8 people, if your club has 20, will leave your club no matter how good your club is. They will leave for different reasons, and thus you want to keep replacing these individuals. And because it happens over time, that means we should be focusing on replacing people or bringing in new people all the time. You don't just wait till a couple times a year. It should be an ongoing project to keep building up your members. Now, of course, you also want to do what you can to retain members. Members will stay if they feel like there's a purpose for taking time out of their day to come to these meetings, if they see value and benefit, if they have connection with the people that are there, and if they feel like they have a specific goal that they're going for and a time frame, so a plan, and so they're coming to achieve these goals. So your vice president of education wants to work with these members and make sure, are they getting benefit and seeing the value of taking time to learn from these programs? Another thing is we want to make sure to keep promoting the club in the not only in the club organization, but also out in the community. Now, this could be a closed club, such as could be a corporate club, and you're trying everything you can to reach out to HR and to managers and let them know about this club, let them know it's available, and perhaps recommend some people to come to the meetings. So you've got people outside of Toastmasters who are gently pushing people to our meetings and getting information out in the community. There's actually a lot of different ways that people have used in the past to promote clubs. And there's even a great handout that you could send for or look up online of 116 different ways to build club membership. And that's a lot of options that you could consider of different ways that can work, that can be successful. Another thing is to make sure that your club programs are varied and exciting, because you don't want them to be boring. So find out lots of different ways to vary it up, to make it interesting, whether you're doing backward meetings, or you come up with interesting table topics, or put in educational moments at the beginning of your program. All sorts of different ways in which you can change it up. And if you don't know how to keep it varied, go online and research how to vary up your programs. And there's plenty of things you can find out there on the internet where club members have shared what they've done to keep their clubs interesting and exciting. Another great idea for membership strength is to sponsor new members. So find new members you might have a contest, let's say, in your club, and say, how many people can you bring in a year? And then recognize these individuals each time they bring in a new member, and see who can maybe get a special prize for bringing in the most new members. Now, this could be from an open house, or this could be from a membership building campaign, or it could be during a certain period of your year, such as who got the most new members in the first 6 months, who got the most new members in the second 6 months, and recognize these individuals so it makes it worth their while. And lastly, come up with regular membership building campaigns, a program where not just the vice president of membership and the vice president of PR get together and develop some sort of program, but also bring in others to be on a committee to help implement these programs, so it's not just one individual or a few individuals who have that responsibility. Everyone in the club should be working to maintain membership strength and support that club on building new members, in addition to coming to the meetings. So these are those areas of moments of truth, which are those moments that say, is our club actually doing what we tell the public we do? Are we living our mission, walking that walk, talking that talk? There's lots of great helpful resources that are out there. One thing you might look up on the internet that gives you lots of ways to improve in any areas that your club might be weak on in these moments of truth. There's lots of different ideas for improving. So there's a best practices chart you could look for that's associated with moments of truth, and it's at the back of their handbook. That's one place you can find it. And you might find some other places on the internet where it's just that 2-page chart of different ideas on how to strengthen a club. And lastly, you can go on to our club district website, tmd55.org, which has lots of tremendous resources on it. One of them being a page that is just the continuing education classes that we offer. Some of these classes are specifically for brand new Toastmasters, such as speech writing made easy, so that people aren't so intimidated about writing a speech or writing several speeches. You will leave that class with many ideas and some outlines already to go with. We also have classes on speech delivery and preparation, as well as a program on giving evaluations and great table topics to help the new people learn how to master these particular skills. We also have some programs on there ongoing, such as these, that are part of the Club Strength program, the Better Club series. There's all sorts of great programs that we're doing, working with, and I'll be doing some recordings like this one and putting them on that page for people to watch at other times. So I hope this was helpful for you. And if you have any questions, please get in touch with me through the Toastmaster District website, or you can call other clubs or go on to the district website and find this information. Thank you much for your time. It's been a pleasure speaking with you.